Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game.
We had a bear survey that came out from Idaho Fish and Game, and actually I just got an email from it today. It came out, I guess I don't know, maybe the 1st of December or something like that. I think it came out. We had to do the survey. And there was a lot of think about it and some precursors and things like that. And actually, one of my friends works for Fish and Game, and I had asked him, saying, "Man, what do you know about this?" And I'm not mentioning his name or anything, but he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I definitely know it's a precursor," and there's a lot of I guess questions that come up about bear hunting and hound hunting, and the bait hunters versus the hound hunters and things like that, and so we had to go through this 15-minute survey, so to speak, and very contradictory on both sides of, you answer one question one way, and then they answer the other. It's almost like they try to play the devil's advocate on, are you a bait hunter or are you a hound hunter? Which one do you prefer? Trying to get each other at their throats a little bit. And of course, we got this email tonight saying that they're revising the survey because, in no shape or form were they planning on changing the way we have. And Idaho is a very, very pro-hound state.
Yeah, so definitely.
It's probably one of the last pro-hound states around, you know what I mean, as far as how much we can run our hounds. I mean, we can run just about all year long.
You are the envy of a lot of Western states, that is for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. We've had California taken away when I was a kid, and Washington and Oregon and, just down the line, and finally, I was actually living in Montana at the time, and when they took hound hunting away then, and I was, now 20 years later, now we can start hound hunting again, so I think they get the folks on the commission that a lot of states do, maybe even your area too, that aren't hunters, and then they take away these things, and then they realize, oh shit, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So we should probably let hound hunters do a little bit of managing, and it's like, and I think a lot of folks, and I'm sure you hear this too, is like, I don't take out everything that we tree. I mean, I don't even take out a third. I was like, I want to run tomorrow.
Yep.
Or the next day, or I want my kids to enjoy this. And what they don't realize is, like, if we wanted to annihilate something, we could take them out. I could annihilate my whole zone if I wanted to. You know what I mean? So,
but then you can't run it next year. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, then what are we gonna do? So it's like we're not there to, to take everything out that we possibly can. But I do know that there's a few out there that think a little differently than that,
Yeah.
But not me. Heck, man, it's just the last bobcat. I think even the pictures I was sent over. I haven't taken a bob in almost 8 years.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I don't know how many I put up in the tree since from that time. So
no, I think
exactly.
most that would describe more houndsmen than not.
Yeah. And I think that if we, I've seen a post, actually a buddy of mine sent it over, while we're on that, sent a post over, and I'm like, I probably, not even me, I probably would have not shared that video, because it just gives a bad representation of something, what I mean? So, and of course, they're just, I'm really all for like real life stuff, and then it's also like, well, should I have, shouldn't I? Because it's real life stuff. This happens, you know.
Yeah.
And I think in general, we've gotten away from what is actually real and what is fake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for people to come to terms with that, you know, because they've been so far from what real is for so long.
Oh yeah.
But they just they can't get it. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah. No, somebody told me probably 4 or 5 years ago that the further civilization gets away from the farm, you figure, you know, our society was an agrarian society where most people farmed, you know, 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the further we get away from that, the further people get away from reality and where their food comes from and living around wildlife. And, you know, because even on farms, you have wildlife on farms. You have predators and you have prey animals that, you know, you have deer in your garden. You've got rabbits in your garden. You've got, you know, the fox trying to kill your chickens. So even if you're not necessarily a hunter, you still are interacting with wildlife on a farm. So the further we get away from that, the more people get out of touch with food and wildlife and all that.
I agree. That totally makes sense. That's a good way of putting things.
Mm-hmm.
A very good way of putting things. I never even really looked at it that way, but that's 100% spot on. You know, you may not be a hunter, you may not be a killer, but you're going to kill that fox if he's going to take away your food.
Yeah.
You know, so, and this kind of the sense of how we do things on the management side of things, I guess, but it's hard for people to, I guess, understand that. And I don't know why. You know, I mean, we know why.
Yeah.
But it's how do we fix it? How do we remedy that solution? Get rid of all the politicians.
That'd be a good start.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That would get us on the right track for a lot of things.
Yeah. Amen to that. That's for sure. Even out here, we have them. They're bad too.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's for sure, man.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll actually get this thing legitimately started.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet, man. So yeah, I just Shane Mowery, Bone Maniacs. Been I guess I was actually talking to another guy today. Ben, jack of all trades is what I do in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been the host and podcast deal there for Bone Maniacs for, I don't know, well, going into season 8 this year on this. Been guiding for, you know, since I was 18. Shot some IBO. My dad used to shoot for Tom Jennings, and him and his buddy. You know, so being in the industry, I've always had it been in it to some degree or whatnot. You know, and you know, kind of just been transpired from there. We do a little taxidermy here in the shop. Got a pro shop here also. So everything that we do kind of just feeds the other hand. You know what I mean? So
your entire life revolves around hunting.
My entire life revolves around hunting. Yeah. If you were to ask my wife, she says your entire life revolves around killing. I'm like, well, I don't do all of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't look at it that quite that way. Some people look at it that way, but it's not that way. We do a lot within the community. I'm actually the state coordinator for S3DA and a level 4 NTS instructor for USA Archery. So we put a lot back into teaching kids.
Nice.
And with the S3DA.
What is S3DA?
So that's the Scholastic 3D archery program. It's actually based out of Kentucky. The headquarters is Kentucky, and so it's just a next step archery program that's, you know, bridging the gap between competition and conservation. archery industry. So
Nice.
our host sponsor of the program is, or I should say, a parent company of the program is USA Archery,
Okay.
and so it's the program that teaches the kids from 8 to 18.
Very nice.
And so we teach those rascals, and hopefully, it's a good program as far as conservation because it gets more kids into hunting.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just focused on competition level of indoor, dot shooting and 3D. So if you think nothing against NASP, it's a good program, but say the past 10 years or whatever, I can't remember, just using round numbers. 10 million kids have went through the program in the schools, and less than a third of them have turned it into hunting.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the scholastic 3D archery conservation side and versus the NAS program. So and it's we're a little more than just basic archery teaching at that point. So
very nice.
It's a great program. Actually, I was talking to Nate Sellers, which he's in your neck of the woods. I think he's more north of you.
Okay.
He has Average Jack archery shop there. He's involved with that to some degree.
Gotcha.
There for Pennsylvania. So of course you guys got a big state too, right? So
yeah.
I'm trying to put it in perspective of where you're at and where he's located at, because he's close to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I don't know how far that is from you, but
he's on the other side of the state.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right on. Yeah. So, and then we were talking about, he's like, well, I have to drive the kids 2 hours. And
oh, yeah.
I was like, geez, man, I got to drive 2 hours just to get to Winco. That's our local supermarket.
Like we were saying, there's just a vast difference in, what's something close for you and versus me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it is. I wouldn't have it any other way. There's so our county road, it's like, I think it's 16 miles here, and there's 4 folks that live on this road.
Wow.
I'm one of them, or our family's one of them. Yeah. So,
sign me up.
we appreciate the remoteness.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, sign me up.
Yeah. Come on out, man. Bring those dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So you've been in the industry basically your entire life. How long have you been in hounds?
Oh, geez. My dad and uncle ran hounds.
Okay.
So I've kind of been, I wouldn't use the word forced, but I was introduced to hounds early on, and I think my dad was really into rabbit, and my uncle was really big into bear and coon and things like that. So it was always there, as far as that's concerned. And so I've always been around it, and I took a little break from owning hounds, and then got back heavily into it. Probably 10 years ago or so, I guess. 10. See, yeah. It's been going on a good 10 years, since I got back into it really heavily. And man, once you stop, and then if your good stock die off or something happens or whatever, and then you try to start all over again, man, it's painful.
Yeah, it's not easy getting started from scratch.
Yeah, it's tough, and
especially when you've already been spoiled.
What's that?
I said, especially when you've been spoiled with good dogs before.
Oh, yeah, you're not kidding. And then you try to find I think when my wife always tells me, she's like, when I'm looking for another good finished hound, she's like, are you stupid? How many times have we went through this? She's like, do you think anybody's ever going to sell a good dog? I'm like, well, because I'm like, well, yeah, I know, I get it. There are some used car salesmen out
Yeah,
there that
definitely.
runs hounds through the mill, but it's a it's a tough deal starting over. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're absolutely right. So, but yeah, to answer your question, man, I've been there. You know, so,
What did your uncle run on bear and coon and lions when you were young?
Reds.
Okay.
Yeah, he was always into the Reds. I guess that's why I've always stuck with that side of the red ticks. That's what my stock is now.
Hmm.
Um, I've had a few blues that came out of Colorado, and I just didn't like. I just didn't have the pads for what I wanted to do and whatnot. And I've tried a couple um, walkers, and I've had friends I'm in big plot country here,
Yeah.
and I just don't like I don't like how aggressive those dogs are.
Okay.
Aggressive as in I don't like how aggressive they are around other hounds.
Okay.
I've seen too many tree fights, and I just don't like it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
great hounds. It's just not my style.
Hmm.
You know, how I like to do things. So, um, I'm getting back to where I'm like, you know, my stock now is I got a couple new pups, and I'm proud to say again we've been doing really good.
Good.
So um, I don't say that very often.
Glad to hear it.
you know, um, I get asked all the time. I was like, well, you're probably catching things all the time. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand.
Hmm.
I don't catch everything I turn out on.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I may only I may only have a, 16, 18 hour track to work on. That's the only thing I cut in 50 miles. Well, if that's the only thing it is, I'm going back to it and I'm going to get some kind of work in.
Yep.
That's my theory and that's what I do. You
Hmm.
know, so but I think it makes the hounds a little more diligent on the track,
Hmm.
and I like them to trail.
Yeah.
I would rather trail a good buck at track than for 4 or 5 hours, um, than to catch any lion within 200 yards.
Hmm.
That's me,
Yeah.
because I feel like when we do catch one, it's like, yeah, we did the right thing, or the hound. I mean, I don't say we. I guess if I get off of the track and put them back on or something, but they do all the work, right? So
I get what you mean.
kind of how.
It's more satisfying. That they put the work in and grind on it, and not just a pop up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't get me wrong, I like those. Some days I pray for those.
I can understand.
Especially for the client.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking. I'm like, especially when you have a client, you know,
yeah,
those make for nice
yeah.
days.
Oh man, it was. And the conditions have to be good too. I we try to get down into Utah. We've been in Colorado some, and wherever, just to do some dirt trailing
Yeah.
and whatnot. But it's tough here. On Lion, we got a lot of pine needle. So and then it just rains so much sometimes, and it's like, man, by the time we're on a good track, then you know we think we're doing really good, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get a washout,
Yep.
and day's over, right? So it's just one of those things where pick up and get back at her the next day.
Yeah. What else can you do?
That's it, man. That's it. That's for daggone sure.
You said you've been guiding as well since you were young. Have you always guided the hound hunts, or was that something?
No, just with the big game and things like that. done some elk, a lot of turkey,
Okay.
deer, and we'd always have to pack bait. So I got really good at that. But it's just recently where when we can take guys out on the hind,
Yeah.
on the hound side of things, and acquiring the property, because I do all private land stuff.
Okay.
I don't deal with the Forest Service. It's just one of the things here in Idaho, in which we've gotten into that before, where I've helped out on guides or outfitters, and where we have a client that we bring in 1 year and put him on a specific bait. He takes a bear off of it. Well, the next year you go to the same place, you're bringing in a client, and you're like, wow, this guy looks familiar. What are you doing on the bait? Because here, anybody can hunt on your bait sticker, or your bait tag. Which to me, that's a serious controversy.
Yeah.
I bring that up a lot, as much as I can, because man, that could either get into a fist fight, or that could result in somebody getting shot out in the wilderness. So especially if a guy's bringing in a bunch of a mile or so packing in bait, and then you got some clown sitting on your bait site. Oh man, it's not going to end well for somebody.
Yeah.
So at least on the private land, you can control that a lot easier. So if guys want to experience on running the hounds, they will. We offer that, but with the terrain and stuff out here, I've taken a lot of guys out, just kind of even on big game and stuff, and they figure out real quick that they're a flatlander.
Oh, I understand.
They're like, I'm not cut out for this. I'm like, okay, let's head back and we'll get you some bait.
Yep.
So, but just to have the experience, man, I think it's really rewarding. Just being able to watch another animal, use his talent and what's embedded in his DNA to figure out a track. If I could say anything to people that don't understand it, it's like, why don't you just come with me one day?
Yeah.
And we get on something and tell me this isn't what this animal enjoys to do.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of hounds like, man, they even think about hearing the chain rattle on my box. It's all chaos. They're ready to go. And I'm sure every hound hunter is like that. But it's what they're bred to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see anything unethical about it at all.
No, I mean, like you said, what are we gonna? We've got 7 breeds of coonhound that have been bred for generations, for hundreds of years, to hunt. What are we gonna do? Just stop breeding those hounds? Stop raising those hounds? And then just let every predator population go unchecked? It just makes no sense. People just don't get it at all.
Well, I think in their world they would love that, right? Yes, they would. It's like,
but they live in D.C. and they don't understand what's going on in rural Idaho.
No, they don't. They really don't. It's and I hope there's a lot of people listening to it. It's like, you have a person in the concrete jungle that lives in a 500 square foot flat that absolutely has no clue about life out here. But yet you're going to dictate what that landowner that has 20,000 acres of mountain land is living off his land, supplying for his family, and employing 20 people, say, you're going to dictate how he lives.
Yep.
Your moral compass is way off, dude. You're way off.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really, really I don't know how you want to say it, other than it's just we're in a period of trying to, how do I want to say it, man? I don't even know. It's just very unique. It's so unique, like you don't even have a word for it.
Yeah. Because I don't think we've ever been, like I said, this far away from the food source. People, you know, even 100, 200 years ago, you lived in a city, but you still used animal power. You still, you know, there
Mhm.
was still there were still cows in the city and horses in the city. So even though you lived in a city, you still weren't as far removed as people are today.
No, and we see it like, I've never looked at Boise as being a city, but quickly Boise is becoming a city.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, you could go downtown, uh, and on the way out of town, I call it a town because it's what it's always been to me, but, you can see a couple sections there. It's just nothing but it's either sweet beef, potato, onion, or you got a homestead over here on a a half section with you know 10 or 20 head of cattle on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like you would see that before you even got to Meridian or Eagle. You know what I mean? Or in the
Mm-hmm.
Nampa or Caldwell, get over into Mercy, and then you're back into farmland or whatever. But it's like um, now it's like the growth, all the Cali folks coming over and bringing their stupid ways and things like that. They are bringing Idaho to that level because
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see it in my day, but I mean we've seen it in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Now growing up out of there, but now you see it. You see it slowly coming in. So
Yeah.
I see your point very clearly, and it's like I think there's needs to be people need to see that. Maybe they need to be touched by reality a little bit.
Something.
Growth is not good, when it comes to that. It's just we're in a weird transition
That's for
in
sure.
the human life, I should say.
Yeah. No,
So what I say is, do what you want to do.
there you go.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So you've
No
been at,
doubt.
like we'll go back to hunting and dogs, and we'll leave the politics for
Yeah,
somebody smarter than at least me. I don't know. um,
yeah. There's only one word for my solution to them.
so, but so what got you into like the TV and like all of that stuff, and the media, and how did you end up there? Because there's a lot of people that are listening that their dream is to have their own TV show. So how did you end up there?
Oh, it's not what it's all cracked up to be.
I've heard that a time or two, but
Yeah. Um, 15 or so years ago was really great. Today, I don't even care if I ever produced another documentary or do any other type of filming. I could care less. And all honestly, if I could get away from social media, so, but kind of how it all came about is had a couple of opportunities to because I was just known folks in the industry, growing up and things like that, and I had an opportunity to to do a couple hunts, and had no idea about camera work. I still don't have any idea about camera work. I can turn it on and take a picture, but it's about as good as I get. Um, but I was able to convince somebody to take a chance, and I don't know if you'd want me to mention his name or not, but um, took a chance and we got started and formed Bone Maniacs and on that side of things, on the media side, and I've grown the brand, I guess to where it's good enough for me.
mhm.
There's way bigger names, obviously, and there's people out there that are like, I'm still a speck in the wind, but it, it's my lifestyle. It's what I do. It's what I do
Mhm.
full time. Amongst the other things, I'd starve to death. So I just had to rely on that. But
Yeah.
it's given me opportunity and has got me into some positions where I've met some really good people. And most of those people, like, I don't do hardly any advertising. Those people come out, pay to hunt with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I share what I do in the in the woodsmanship of between here and Washington, on the properties that we have in Idaho, um, on what I do on a daily basis, whether it's out setting line for wolves or out running lions, or I'm calling in elk or turkey, or we're doing a stalk on a muley.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's one of those things where just somebody took a chance, man, and
Nice.
it kind of transpired from there, Ben, and we air things on Carbon TV, and I think what was it? We did a little whitetail deal there, and we was able to take first place on that. Still, one of the or one of the top 16 shows. Actually, I won that event, so I guess I am the top one. But uh, most watched shows on Carbon TV. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's just a fun thing. My kids are actually old enough to hunt big game this year now, so um, because you got to be 10 here, and
Okay.
um, a lot of those things is like, kids. I'm not sure if you have kids or not, but like, well, they're way more tech savvy than what I could even think about being. So it's like, hey man, run this camera.
Yeah.
And he's, oh yeah, you do this, and here, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that. So he's like, Dad, I really want a GoPro. I'm like, why do you want a GoPro? And it's to do those things, but
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm making is I spend a lot more time on development and honing in on their skills than the past year or so than what I've really focused in on the show side of things. And that side of things on the big TV networks and stuff like that, it's just not feasible anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are now, just on a digital platform.
Yeah.
The amount of money that it costs, and there's really no viewership
Oh,
to
yeah.
speak of, and those days of popping on the ESPN, or I don't even know if that's still, we don't have TV, or Outdoor Network, or to watch Saturday, Sportsman's Channel, to watch Dan Fitzgerald or whatever. That was one of my favorites to watch. So it's like, watching those series or things like that, man. It's not there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Outdoor television that does exist, but like you said, I think a lot of people. You just said it. You don't have TV. I don't have TV. A lot of people have moved away from it. So, that's a big part of the reason it doesn't have the viewership is just people in general have moved away from cable TV. So,
well, yeah, it's it's not worth the expense.
yeah.
It's really not. There's nothing but garbage on it anyway. And I tell my kids, I'm like, this stuff's gonna rot your mind. You can't be watching it anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just not worth it.
Yep. So I think
but
you did the smart move anyway by just going to a digital platform.
Yeah, I kind of seen it coming, and I've had good insight and some good marketing strategies that some folks that were looking out for me and made suggestions that this is what I do, and it worked out. On that part of things, but could probably do a lot more, but it's not what my main focus is. If that makes sense. It's just not. I don't care about the dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm.
There's I don't like to really fit into that genre. Plus I probably wouldn't. I'd probably get more hate mail than what I would anyway. What I do now. So.
Yeah, that still just boggles my mind.
I don't take those threats very, very lightly. So that's one thing I don't like about social media.
Definitely
Or
not.
it's too many clowns out there that can hide behind a keyboard.
Oh yeah. Now, knock on wood, I have avoided a lot of that. But at the same point, I have avoided posting a lot of dead game. A lot of what I
Mm-hmm.
post is more just dogs. So even though
Mm-hmm.
they're hounds in the hunt, treat or something, oftentimes, more often than not, I just don't end up posting, a dead animal at the end of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's part of why I've kind of avoided it, and that's kind of been my strategy as far as the social media is concerned, because I don't really want to deal with it.
Well, yeah, and that's a smart move on your part. Not just to avoid it all together. That's what you have to do. And it's one of those things where you don't you don't get shadow banned, you don't get knocked down or anything like that,
Hmm.
because I mean they just demonetize you any way possible.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, I think in theory, like um, if between the activists and the government and whatever else out there, the big shareholders, that if they could do away with hunting and take your gun rights, because there's no way. I mean, you don't need a weapon, so
Hmm.
you can't hunt. So why do you need it? If they could do that, they would.
Oh yeah.
Um, so it's in a sense, it's just nonsense that you even have to put up with any of that stuff.
Yep.
It's goofy.
It
I'm sure
certainly
it's
is.
always been there, but
But this just brings
social
it to
media.
where people
Yeah.
can be anonymous and people can say something, behind a keyboard or behind a screen, and you
Hmm.
know that anonymity gives a lot of people a lot of courage.
You're not kidding. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, they don't. They don't have. It's like you said. They live in the 6 foot circle. I mean, that's
Yep.
all they know is concrete.
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well. Let's hear some good hound stories. You've been running hounds a long time. You know, obviously you've got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, we can start off with, we actually have had. Well, I can do two of them. We'll start off with one that we run into here in Idaho a good bit in houndsman. One of them is the wolf issue.
hmm
We ran into this was probably about, well, I'll use these. I don't have her anymore. She's not with us, but I did have a really good blue that I liked, and whenever she would cut a wolf track, she would just lock up. But anyway, we were trailing a lion. I was just had in my head that we were going to catch this thing. It was a good tom. We were actually down in the Payette. I was actually by myself on this hunt, and I do that quite a bit. I'll just go in, sled the dogs in, and we go in. And if I have to snowshoe to cut a track or whatever, I just don't drive around in a truck
hmm
rigging. So we got on this, and we were trailing for a good 100 yards, and then, I mean, they were just lighting up, and I'm like, man, this thing's close. We're gonna tree this thing. And I come up on this kill, and I'm like, oh man, this is even better. This thing was just here. That's what I'm thinking. We got flesh blood everywhere, and we got some drag off, and and whatnot. And I'm like, okay. We messed around there on that a bit because, there's tracks everywhere all the way around it. And between 5 different hounds, all the hound tracks that was around, I didn't realize that there was a wolf track there.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things. Like, man, you just got a lot of commotion going on. I'm sure you can attest to it. Any houndsman can. It's like, man, you got all this commotion going on, and you're trying to figure out which way this thing went to get them lined out again. And I just missed it. I didn't see it, and it must have been a wolf that was, kicked out of the pack and whatnot. And she was the lead. Once we got lined out again, and she ran into it. It crossed the line, and I think what had happened is that wolf ran that lion off.
Yeah.
And I think it was a female because it was I think if I remember right on that. No, it was actually that Tom. It was that Tom. Because we had two different stories there. We went back the next day with guns trying to take that wolf out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she hit that wolf track and just locked up. And I knew right in there, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get these hounds to do anything. Because it seemed like both of those tracks were fresh. Like, it must have just been right then that both of them was there, in and out, and the wolf ran that Tom off.
Yeah.
And out they go. And for the life of me, I could not get those hounds started back up again on that line track because they hit that wolf scent, and it was like game over.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had to deal with that, and I have no other hound hunters, and I'm like, man, I know how to get rid of, them running coyotes, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times somebody is like, man, my hounds are running coyotes. But with a wolf, it's like they just locked up, and they would not do anything. Like, it's almost like those canines know the dominance level at that point, especially if they've been around the scent and stuff. So
yeah,
it was just one of those for sure things. I was like, man, we're going to catch this thing. It didn't happen. And there's actually another buddy of mine down in Horseshoe that actually ended up catching that Tom on the backside of the mountain. I'm almost positive because it was a good Tom. And I was pretty pissed off because I was like, that was supposed to be mine. You know what I mean? But it was one of those things where I hear the wolf just mess things up all the time, and they do.
Oh, yeah.
We deal with it a lot, just take, for instance, me and Rick went out on Friday. We took the boys out, and we cut a couple old bobcat tracks, and we cut, I think, 7 different wolf tracks.
Wow.
I didn't even turn out. I mean, I just didn't turn out, so. And it was old enough. We had fresh snow overnight, but it was still like I had them on the leash, and I put my stringers out, and they I just let them trail a little bit on just to see what they would do. But it was just too close to the canyons there, where these wolves are just. It's time for the migration. They're starting to push things down,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the wolves follow. And I was like, I'm just not doing it. And I told Rick, I said, you want to see something really strange? I said, take the rip dog and walk over to that track and put his nose down, and it's almost like instant, like they know better.
Yeah.
It's like, get me away from this thing. Like I'm not interested, but I've also had guys like, man, they just start trailing them and lure some of the, or at least one of the hounds away out of the pack and kill it. So
Yeah.
That's happened. It hasn't happened to me, but it's happened to guys that I know, or other guys has mentioned to me, within the area
Yep.
that's done that. And some guys won't even hunt some of these up here on the mountain, where I run a good bit, just because of so many wolves. They've had too many bad deals going on.
No,
So
I had a guy on the podcast last January or last February, and he had a couple dogs killed, and he lives in Montana, but he said he won't bear hunt because one of the areas that they're allowed to bear hunt where he lost his a couple dogs to wolves, and he said at least with cat hunting you can circle the area and see and look for tracks. But he's like, when you bear hunt, you don't know if there's wolves in the area or not. So he's like, not bear hunting.
No, you don't. Yeah, it's tough at that point. And there's a lot of guys that won't bear hunt in the spring because of that. I kind of have mine figured out now, that if they start doing something that they normally don't do, and this next story is the same kind of two of the wolf deals is, my rip dog, he completely did things out of character. And I had to leave him overnight because we couldn't get him. Of course, that's just a normal thing, but, I was like, well, my wife was with me at the time. I was like, this dog is not that fast. I'm like, you're sitting there looking at your handheld, and I'm like, he just went 300 yards in a matter of like seconds. What's going on here? And I'm like, because we started off. I mean, we were like on a bear, and I mean, we were flat out. I'm like, that was another thing. It was like, well, we're gonna treat this thing. And I was actually looking for a bear, like, for my wife to take. And I was like, yeah, we'll get this one. But every time I've said, yeah, this is going to be easy, it's like, yeah, whatever.
And jinxing it.
Yeah, well, I've learned my lesson after this past spring on this one. But he got in there, and we bolted down in the canyon. I mean, I took off at a dead run for everything I could run, trying to get him after we trailed and tried to get him to come in, and I'd be towing him and nothing, man. It was like he did not know anything that was going on. And then after I sit there and I was digesting things, and after that I was like, I'm gonna have to leave. And it started raining, and I'm like, we got within, I think it was like 300 and some yards. It was under 400 yards from him. And I'm calling him, and I'm tuning him, and I'm like, this is completely unusual what's going on. And to this day, I am almost positive that he was running for his life.
Yeah.
He was being chased. I mean, he's a fast dog as it is, but I was like, he's not that fast. And I'm like, I swear to this day, that I said, he was running from a single. And I had talked to a couple of my other buddies up here, and he's like, well, you're just stupid for even running up there. So here's the thing. We can't kill them all right now. I said, but what we need to do is we need to figure out how we can, hunt around them or hunt with them, get them to the point where we can take them out, and then it's one of them things where I'm not going to give up my passion of hunting in this area that I know so well, without just because we got wolf in the area.
Yeah.
What I need to do is be a better wolf killer. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been focusing on the past couple of years. So it's one of those things where that's the misfortune side of things that we've had to deal with here throughout the years, and it's not just me, Ben. Like, I can take it out to three other houndsmen. Like, there's three other houndsmen in the area. They're very good houndsmen, way better than me. Then they run, but they won't run where I run. And I'm okay with that. But I also won't go where they run. You know what I mean? So it's one of them things where I kind of felt like, they've been here for 40 years. You know what I mean? They grew up in this little town, and we moved up here into this little town. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but it was kind of like, well, I'll just have to figure it out on my own on that, on how to deal with those, those critters. And I think we're getting there. But those were the two. It doesn't sound like it was exciting or anything like that, but it was exciting on the fear factor side of
Oh
things,
yeah.
because you get in there, not that I was afeared for my life or anything like that. Fear like that wolf can take my hound out
Oh
in
yeah.
seconds. I'm sitting here looking at a wolf skull right now, and I'm like, you open up this. If we was on video, I could, just show you these things inside. It's like, man, they can just kill a hound instantly.
Oh
Kind of
yeah.
like what if a lion knew exactly how deadly they were, they could kill every hound on the tree. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So it's one of those deals. Um,
Definitely.
but but if you want to hear a most recent exciting
Yeah.
run, it's we are actually just one of the most recent hunts. My son hasn't never taken anything under the tree.
Okay.
So the hounds have been doing really really so good, and we got onto I thought it wasn't a very good track, and they started trailing out pretty slow, and we had a bobcat tree within 600 yards, and I was like, wow, that's a good. We ended up doing really well there on that. The hounds did, and um, they trailed for a while, and of course, the way bobcats are, just tree jumping and tree jumping and tree jumping, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out where they are and running up dead snags and this or that. That's I love bobcat. I just love the challenge of trying to catch those things. But after 600 and some yards and 3 hours later, we got it figured out, and my son was able to take his first bobcat out of the
Nice.
tree, under the hound. So
Hmm.
that was, I mean, that one was kind of more of a special thing for me than all the other good times that I've had, running with hounds, just because, I mean, with clients and things like that, it's fun, but
Yeah.
they're paying me. I'm doing a job.
Yeah.
you
And at the
know?
same point, it doesn't mean anything that somebody else, is pulling the trigger, but it means something when your
Oh
kid
yeah.
is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
just seeing the excitement with them, and then we set it under a tree, and we go over, our little family deal of like, hey, this is why we do it. I'm like, normally I say, look, I had no plan, taking that Tom or anything like that, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're in an area where it's pretty heavily populated with, with bobs, and I'm like, well, we should probably at least take one of them out and explain to him that, like, this isn't an everyday thing where every time we tree one, we're gonna take it out,
Yeah.
So, and but at the same sense, it got tagged, and it's down to the tannery, and we'll put it on the wall for more memories, So
Nice.
it's one of those things where uh, you I guess for people that don't get it, is like, it's like you got to take them all. I don't know. Like I said, I get to a point where I would just rather trail bobcat. I don't know what it is. It's just I feel like if my hounds are catching bobs, I feel like they've earned a spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For them. But but yeah, it's those one from a while back, to this past spring, and into one just the other week. As
Nice.
far as that, we actually treated another one. and he got a free pass.
There you
So
go.
it was another pretty decent tom that we
Mm-hmm.
retrieved. But it was in the same area, that we took that one out. So it was one of them things where I was like, nope. He's like, Dad, you need me to bring the gun? I said, nope. I said, you leave it in the truck. we're working today.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
That's awesome.
Well, I think I don't know. There's got to be some teaching involved with those things, and realizing that that's for me, and then teaching to other folks too. And I think just in general, and I'm sure you feel all. I would like to think all houndsmen feel the same way. It's like if we don't give these hounds something to chase, then what's the use of having them?
Exactly.
They're just sitting there. There's nothing around.
Yep.
And it's here in Idaho. There's no limit on bobcat. We can kill. We can kill as many bobcat as we want. I don't think that's a good law. I don't think it's a good one at all. Because we can go into an area between running and trapping. We can wipe a canyon out pretty quickly. So I won't say we're going to catch them, but I'm saying over the course of a season, we can pretty much take them out. Because, we can run, all year long for all except for pretty much the month of July.
Okay.
So, and then you got training season. But take season, you can hunt lion clear to March 30th. So
wow.
Pretty good lion season. And then we got 2 seasons of hounds for spring and fall for bear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you get your training season, in July. So, really, Idaho is a houndsman paradise when it comes to running as much as you want to run.
Yes, it is.
So
that's for sure.
Pick up a lot of private land, then you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
as far as running side, So that's just state land stuff. So.
Well, that's great though. That your son's getting into it. Does he like the hounds?
Oh, he does. He doesn't have quite the discipline to really hone in on it yet. And one of those things, and sometimes I get a little bit frustrated. It's like this hound needs worked as much as you need to read at school. You know what I mean? Things like that. I try to get them to understand it, but the light bulb hasn't clicked yet, Ben.
I understand.
And I would love to get out more, and I do, but it's that's why I said it's like I would probably never ever call myself a houndsman, because I feel like I need to be out there 3 or 4 times a week, and most of them out once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's other hunts going on, but boy, I'd love to. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of the way it is. So hopefully I didn't bore you out too much on those. It wasn't really the most exciting deals, but
good.
I look at my excitements on ones that are really nair biters.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I had fun.
Heck yeah.
So.
Heck yeah, man.
If you don't have anything else, we'll wrap this podcast up.
You bet, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. As always, be sure to check out the sponsors, Conkeys, Full Cry, and W, for all your hound hunting needs.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.